So, hey Cancer, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for whenever you freaking find it. Let's just see what comes up. I'm doing 10 cards for you, and this is definitively whenever you find it in 2026. Big stuff coming up all the freaking time in this reading in 2026. The Hierophant and the King of Cups, right? You just know yourself. King of Cups is this beautiful energy, emotional maturity, emotional mastership, right? You know how you feel about stuff and you're not shy to express it. You know, if you feel uncomfortable, you say, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable, or I would rather go home, or I would rather do this and that, or I sit this one out, or something like that. You can speak your truth without being rude, but certainly always respect your inner feelings and how you feel about stuff, right? Your emotions. Then we got a contradictory pair here. You got the 9 of Swords and you got the 4 of Wands. So you worry a lot, maybe you're not sleeping so well, worrying too much, but there is an invitation from the universe, from the world, basically, to enjoy the situation, right? Whatever this situation is right now, you seem to worry about it, but you should actually try to enjoy it. There is mastership here, King of Cups and the Hierophant. You got something to give, right? In the sense that you learn something, you know, and there are 2 reasons why we come here and incarnating in this thing here, right? We're either learning something or we're teaching something. Maybe you are in this phase where you begin to teach something. 9 of Cups, 2 of Swords. Using your mind wisely. And this is pretty much a good combination. So here you are worrying with the 9 of Swords, sleepless nights, maybe not sleeping very well. But the universe is actually saying, hey, nothing is happening, you're safe, you can enjoy this. Even if it's a situation maybe in between something. 2026 is the beginning of a new 20-year circle, a new developmental cycle, 20-year circle, 10-year or 9-year cycle. So a lot of things are happening. It's definitely a time of change, the wind of change, you might have noticed, right? But there is the 9 of Cups, and the 9 of Cups is pretty much taking this invitation of having a good day, making the best of it, and really enjoy this summer, right? If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, by the way. So this is the 9 of Cups. This guy is enjoying the summer. And how you use your mind, not to worry, not to overthink, not to catastrophize, but to meditate, to do breath work. That's a good exercise. I recommend this all the freaking time. That's how you keep the connection to your subconsciousness, right? That's how you steady the whole thing. That's how you ground yourself within yourself. That's also where you get your divine, humble inspiration, right? Through your subconsciousness. Meditation, breath work, that's how you use your mind, not to worry, not to overthink. There is the Hierophant, then they got the High Priestess, big, and the 2 of Wands, okay. 2 more, there's the Devil as a shadow aspect, there's the 10 of Cups and the King of Wands. The Devil doesn't concern us. Maybe you're coming from a phase, you know, that put you into this frequency, into this mindset. But in 2026, it's over. The world, that's the bottom of the deck, is still infested with narcissists, right? They're just everywhere and they can't help themselves. They're not going to change. They're not going to transform into decent, responsible people or anything. Narcissistic people are always there, no matter where you go. But you know what? Don't take their bait. Don't, engage. Don't defend. Don't explain. Don't personalize. They just do their thing and they can't help them. They're always trying to trigger you. They're always trying to say, who do you think you are? Can you do this? You know, spreading doubt and insecurities, trying to play you on guilt, fear, shame. This is just what these people do. They don't have much going for themselves, so they need to push other people down. That's the only way how they can give themselves a false sense of elevation, pushing others down. That's just who they are, and you cannot change these people. You just have to radically accept the world has these people, and the best way to go is not to defend, not to engage, not to personalize, and not to explain yourself, right? You're just doing your thing. The world has always been like that. So don't worry too much about things that you cannot change. The best way to use your mind is to meditate and to focus on that, what you actually can change. And then you're looking forward to something better. There's the 2 of Wands, there's the 4 of Wands. Pretty much an invitation to, you know, come out of your overthinking, worrying mind, because the overthinking, worrying mind is also a form of narcissistic mindfuck. So if somebody, you know, asks you, who do you think you are, guilt, fear, shame, things like that, right? Triggers, if you watch the news, right, you can go into a rut, you can go into an overthinking energy, and this is pretty much what this 9 of Swords is. There's enough in this world, in the news right now, wherever you look, to make you feel powerless, to disempower you, to circle your thoughts around things that you cannot change. That in itself is also a form of narcissistic abuse. That is a form of mindfuck, because if you are constantly confronted with world stage problems, right? We're not designed to solve world stage problems all the freaking time. We're designed to, you know, take care of our circle of responsibility. And as long as you worrying about stuff that you cannot change, you're disempowering yourself. But as long as the moment you basically say, okay, there are things I cannot change, so what can I do? And to make that switch, that is a daily practice. Breathwork and meditation. 10 seconds in, 5 seconds in, no, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out. The out breath should be 2 times that of the in breath. Right now, in this time and age, you should breathing out more than you breathe in to release negativity. And you do that for 5 minutes, you do that for 10 minutes, right? That's how you stabilize yourself, that's how you release negativity, and that's how you come back to yourself. And when you come back to yourself, breathwork and meditation, right? You can do that 5 minutes a day. You can scroll like for an hour in social media and bitch about stuff that you cannot change. Narcissistic mindfuck energy. Stop that. Instead, you do breathwork and meditation, right? Skip the crap, stop scrolling, and sit down to meditate and do some breathwork. That is bringing you back to yourself. It is establishing a connection to your subconsciousness. It is using your consciousness, your mind wisely. And then you focus on your blessings. There's gratefulness in here. And there's kindness to yourself, right? Kindness to yourself. Oh my God. There's so much going on here. And then it goes further. You just keep doing what you love to do. You carve out space and time in your day. Maybe you cut off work a little bit if you can. I would definitely advise that to do that. If you can do it right now, especially in 2026, is a time where we have to come back to ourselves, realize what is really important for you, and then do that. Give that loving attention. You deserve it. You're a divine freaking child of this universe. You have a divine right to be here, right? And not just an afternoon on the weekend or something like that, right? Every day you should enjoy yourself. And there's the Nine of Cups, doing what you love, divine humble pride in what it is that you're doing. You don't need a crown, you don't need a throne, you just do your thing and be very happy about it. Fortune of the difficulty. Just by doing that, you're bringing yourself in beautiful frequency. And then you're showing up as mastery, right? King of Wands, King of Cups, having your emotions and your passions under control and acting accordingly. I say this again and again because it is kind of relevant in these days. Fire energy, that's also sexuality, right? So, enjoy sexuality. By all means do that, right? But be wise about it. Don't say yes if you mean no, don't do anything that you're not 100% into. And, when it comes to emotions, speak your truth. If you feel uncomfortable, then change the situation, get out of a situation. And it's not just sexuality, it is just all of your passions and all of your feelings, basically. Knowing thyself, right? This is what this is about. Not living in guilt, fear, shame, knowing your shadow aspect, cultivating your shadow aspect. Usually the shadow aspect is connected to your emotions and your passions, and then using your passion not to suffer with it, right? But to joyfully create. And with the Two of Wands and the Four of Wands here, it's safe to do that, and it's the right time to do that. And this will bring you fortune after difficulty, 10 of Cups, 9 of Cups, not denying yourself, aspects of yourself, not lying to yourself, and not believing your own lies, Sometimes we are kind of conditioned by this frequency to kind of lie to ourselves or to deny our own feelings. No longer, right? Please don't do this. That was Pluto in Capricorn. Since 2008, we got Pluto in Aquarius. Now I say this again and again. Super important. Trust your intuition. That's the High Priestess and the Hierophant. There is I feel like you absolutely establish this connection to your subconsciousness. Sometimes you get into this overthinking, worrying too much mode. That is not good for your sleep, that's for sure. You know what? If you wake up in the middle of the night or you are lying in your bed, you can't sleep, you stand up, you meditate. You just sit there for however long it takes, and you meditate instead. Instead of lying there thinking about stuff, you're using your mind actively. You're saying, no, that's not serving my purpose. This is not helpful. So you focus on meditation. That is helpful. Try that, right? And then make meditation and breathwork a daily practice, and make it a daily practice to do what you love. Daily joyful creation, not suffering for your passion, but having fun with it, right? You're not learning how to ride the bike every day. Eventually you get the hang of it, and you just can enjoy riding your bike without falling down, right? There's a suffering aspect of passion, and then there's a joyful aspect of passion. And these are two connected developmental phases, okay? So you can't stop at the painful stuff and just learn how to ride your bike forever and fall on your face forever. That's not what it's about. That is just one aspect. And then you get the second aspect where you get eventually the hang of it and enjoy it, right? That's how it's meant, right? The cross and the grail. It's a freaking circle. It's not either or. You're welcome. This is the that's the High Priestess, knowing thyself, not believing your own lies, and speaking your truth to yourself and to others if necessary. You don't advertise how you feel, and you don't advertise your passions, but you act accordingly to them, and you honor and respect yourself. That's what you do. And if you do that, you just setting an example for other people. You know, if he can do that, if she can do that, maybe I can do that as well. That's what hopefully more and more people think. And that's how we heal and grow. That's 2026. How much cards do I get? 6. We got 10 cards already. So let's just do some clarifiers. Beautiful Empress. That's what I love. She shows up all the freaking time in all these readings. The Hangman is over. And especially this combination from the Hangman to the Empress. That's a developmental cycle that probably took you quite a few years to get there, to finally enjoy life, to slow down. That's very important, to slow down. You know, and if you can cut off a few hours from work, you know, if you can afford it, you know, go down to 6 hours a day, or, you know, instead of 8. And carve out space for things that you love to do every day, not just on Saturday afternoon. Every day it's your life. You deserve this. And, you know, this question, who do you think you are? You know, that is in itself a deeply narcissistic, disempowering, mind-fucking energy. Do not fall for that. You're not falling for it. You're speaking your truth. You know your worth. You love yourself. The King of Wands is clarified by the King of Wands. And let's just see what else comes up. Okay, so the clarifier for those two kings, Cups and Wands, is the King of Wands. And then we got the clarifier for the High Priestess and the Hierophant. And the clarifier is the Hierophant. You know, that clarifier between the 9 and the 10 of Cups is the Empress. Inner mastership, knowing what you like, what you don't like, knowing what gives you joy and happiness, and allowing yourself to do that repeatedly instead of overthinking in bed about stuff that you cannot change, you know? How many likes did I get? How many views did I get? How many this and that? So many wars. Should I worry about this and that? You worry about what you can take responsibility of. That's the circle of your responsibility. What can you do? And then by all means do that. If there's some homework to do, do that. And then joyful, loving creation. And if you sit in bed and you're overthinking and you're worrying too much, don't just sit there, don't just lay there overthinking. Get up and meditate. And that is taking responsibility in the here and now, and not circling around stuff that you cannot change while you just lay there and wasting your life. No, you get up and you meditate, and by meditation you are cultivating your consciousness, your mind, and you're taking responsibility of it. The conflict is over, and bottom of the deck there's the victory march. You have to end that conflict, and the conflict is ended by you no longer participating in it. When somebody asks you, who do you think you are? If somebody makes a stupid remark about you being this or you being that or whatever, you know, not taking the bait, not defending yourself, not explaining yourself, not engaging, not personalizing. These people are just, they try this with everybody. And whoever reacts to it, that's the next target. That they can't help themselves. That these are basically energy vampires, right? So they need your energy. They can't just leave it alone because they need your engagement. They need your rage, your anger, your frustration. And they need, you know, everything that, you know, disempowers you. That's how they feed on you. That's really disgusting like that, right? But that's the narcissist for you. And giving the narcissist attention is like giving the monkey sugar. He gets worse. And, you know, you're not appeasing a narcissist by giving him or her what he or she wants. That's getting worse if you do that. So don't engage, don't defend, don't explain, don't personalize. And not bothering people seems to bother people. Yeah, that's true. But I would still advise you not to bother people and not being bothered by people, not giving them that energy, right? In the last few years, there's a good Hannah Arendt quote. Those who choose the lesser evil forget very quickly that they chose evil. I think when I see your cards here on the table, you did not choose evil. You chose yourself. You chose integrity and authenticity and decency, and not putting other people down, not feeding on their energy, not playing them on their insecurities, not manipulation, not exploitation. That's the narcissist, right? And there are a lot of people who probably chose that path, and that path will lead them somewhere, but this is the reading for people who are going to a happy place out of sheer integrity and authenticity and self-love, self-respect. And naturally, if you respect yourself, if you love yourself, respect for other people comes naturally. That's just, you don't even think about it. It's just there. So I think you chose the right way. But those who chose the lesser evil forget very quickly that they chose evil. Hannah Arendt. If you hate a person, you hate something in him that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves does not disturb us. Hermann Hesse. So don't engage, don't defend, don't explain, don't personalize, that's for sure. You feel like you learned a lot in the last 9 years, 10 years, since 2008. And just by practicing that, just by being that, just by being yourself a friend, you're setting an example. Yeah. That's 2 times the Hierophant here. And that's a beautiful quote. I love this. Really, really, I love this. Say it out loud and say it with me together. I'm reading it and then I say it again, and you can, if you want, maybe I put some text here. So it's really important. I'm grateful that my suffering did not turn me into those who inflicted it upon me. Say it with me. I am grateful that my suffering did not turn me into those who inflicted it upon me. And some people chose the lesser evil, and choosing the lesser evil means choosing evil, becoming like them, taking their tactics and applying them to push other people down, to maybe alleviate their own suffering, right? Instead of solving their inner conflicts and integrating their shadow aspect, they might have negated their shadow aspect and just found someone else to, push down, to ease their own suffering. And that is choosing the lesser evil, and choosing the lesser evil means to choose evil. If you behave like the narcissist, you become a narcissist. And you're still suppressed by other narcissists. That's their hierarchical BS thing, right? So if you're resonating with this channel, you didn't do that. You didn't behave like the narcissist. You didn't do it onto the next person what has been done to yourself, right? You're not, if you have been abused or mind-fucked or, narcissistically abused, then you're not becoming like them and do it to the next person. A lot of people have chosen that path. But what I see here on the table is you have not chosen that path, and you can be proud of that. And something will come out of it, right? And the people who have chosen that darker path, well, they, if you dance with the devil, right? The devil doesn't change, the devil changes you, right? That's very true, and that's very dark. But if you have said no to that, and if you said, okay, I don't want that toxic BS, keep your shitty job where I have to sell my soul to the devil and, do all shady things to make some friends or have a good business. No. And that means integrity, that means standing up for yourself, that means listening to your emotions, to your passions, right? And not overriding your intuition. I think you did that. So I'm grateful that my suffering did not turn me into those who inflicted it upon me. And you have every reason to be proud of that. Now, Bethia, my friend. That's all I got. Oh, no. One Blue Angel Oracle deck card. This is what you get. Oh, that's Sananda. You got 2 king. Actually, you got 3 kings with the clarifiers. 2 times the King of Wands. Then you got the King of Cups. That in itself is a lot of mastery. And if that wasn't enough, you got the High Priestess. And 2 times, actually, the Hierophant, which is the spiritual leader, which is someone who leads by example, not by pushing others down, not by, throwing shit at them and seeing what sticks. That's their tactic, No, you're building up people. You're building up yourself. And by building up yourself and rising your frequency, you're automatically affecting your environment positively. That alone does it mean to let your light shine? And that is also what is mastery. Sananda. Sananda, the evolved name of Jesus, is he who has ascended into a higher dimension of awareness. To discard Sananda invites you to ascend with him into the heart of love. In doing so, you can rise above the obstacles and challenges you face. And though the physical world will never be free of obstacles, from a higher perspective, you will see they are not the inflexible solid structures you initially imagined. You think you exist in this physical world, but the reality is the physical world exists through you. For in essence, you are light and have the power to transcend physical reality and raise your awareness by connecting with the eternal light and love inside you. True light, all has come. True light, all is transformed and healed. And I think you found your inner light. You found what you love to do, and maybe you found your passion. That is a kind of overemphasized phrase shown around all the freaking time, especially in tarot card readings. But, if you just do what makes sense to you, if you just do what you like to do, whatever it is, you don't need to be grandiose about it. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to produce something. You don't need to have something to show for it. You can just be happy while you're doing it, whatever it is, right? And granting yourself that is what this frequency always tried to keep us away from. Because if you are in alignment with your inner core, you're coming in alignment with divine inspiration, with divine energy, frequency, inspiration, healing, you name it. But if you're blocked internally, if you're in guilt, fear, shame, if you're in lower frequency, if you constantly hate and project insecurities on outside phenomena, that's disempowering, right? But if you do what you love, if you arrive at yourself, that's a form of mastery, and you don't need to. That is reward in itself, and that is your divine right. Not just for an afternoon on the fucking weekend, and the rest of the week you're basically a slave for whoever exploits you. That's absolutely sick. You have a divine right to just be and to do what you love. Period. That is not negotiable. Now, Bethia. And one animal oracle card. Time to collaborate. Okay, maybe you're going to find people There's an invitation here. Maybe you're going to meet people with the Four of Wands. Just trust your intuition, you know, and if you go to a party, go to a gathering of whatever sort, and you just feel your battery is drained, you know, you're out of energy, then that in itself is a red flag. You know, if your energy drains very fast, that is a red flag. Then you just say, okay, my batteries are empty, I'm leaving, ciao, have a good time. You don't need to explain yourself, you just honor how you feel, right? And if your battery is drained after a short period of time, then you're most likely in a circle with the wrong people. But if you feel, you know, energized, and, you know, you must trust it. You must develop a feeling and trusting that feeling, and you allow to feel good. That's your default. And that has been mind fucked out of our hearts and heads pretty heavily, hasn't it? But we're healing from this, and we're not becoming slaves of guilt, fear, shame, right? We're not turning all into narcissistic psychopaths. We're rising together. Now, that's all I got. Check out the summer reading. Check out the yearly reading if you like. Check out the sun, moon, and rising signs for your chart, and hopefully see you next time. Now, ciao.